Hello and welcome to today's webinar, everyone, to our Boost Your E-Commerce with Magento 2.4. Thank you for taking out your time today and being here. My name is Faisal Ijaz. I am the practice head at Royal Cyber. Hello, I hope you can see me. So being part of the e-commerce team, my core responsibilities include helping new and existing customers explore as well as enhance their e-commerce domain of business, specifically in Adobe products, overall Adobe Experience Platform, specifically in Adobe Experience Manager and the Adobe Commerce, which is Magento. Today, I'm very excited to have our guest speaker with us, who is the head of channel technical sales, Magento Commerce Solutions from Adobe, Justin Morrow. Justin currently heads a team called Channel Technical Sales, which is designed to be a curated enablement resource for partners like Royal Cyber. Before I start and move to the next slides, a bit of housekeeping stuff, just for your information. We'll be taking the Q&A at the end of the webinar. So we have enabled our Ask a Question feature. So it's on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have any questions, just pop them in there. We'll be getting on to the questions as soon as we head to the closing of the webinar. Moving on, I'd like to quickly shed some light on the overview as the effort that we'll be putting in the next 50 to 60 minutes to make this webinar valuable for you and see what's in the agenda today. So we'll be covering the introduction and overview of Magento 2.4, where Justin will take you through some prominent updates in the new release. We'll then be going to journey of features from Magento 2.0 to 2.4, just to revisit how far we have come from the early Magento 2.x days. Then we'll shed some light on new B2B capabilities. Since COVID, there are a lot of queries and concerns over ever-increasing B2B sales and workflow management specifically. So we'll put some light on it. Why upgrade or re-platform has been one of the very frequently asked questions by our customers who are looking to re-platform and implement a new instance. So if you're already in your comfort zone with your existing system, or maybe there are certain pain points, but you would want to see the consolidated rationale as why you should make a move to Magento. So we'll try to briefly touch base on it for you. Then I'll give you a quick overview of the Royal Cyber's approach to give you a jump start. So specifically for this webinar, we have put together a quick slide to showcase what can be the high-level cost and timeline when you're looking to implement a new instance, or probably want to re-platform at any point to reap the benefits that we are talking about today. A bit of resources as what we'll be sending you in form of the info sheets and the frequently asked questions and the features and the B2B information as much as we can. I'll give you a quick review of it, and then we'll head to the questions and answers. So I'll appreciate whatever questions you have in mind. Just pop in there, and we'll try our best to answer it within the time. Before I go ahead and give the presentation control to Justin, I'd quickly like to go ahead and give you a quick overview of Royal Cyber. As you can see at Royal Cyber, we are a modernized e-business solution provider specializing in software development, maintenance, support, program management, and others. We are Adobe partners in Magento Community Insiders as well as we have a partnership with a lot of other technologies such as Microsoft and IBM, etc. So with offices in more than like 10 locations, 1,000 plus employees now, more or less. With 3 innovation centers in different parts of the world, we come to you, our customers, as a perspective and technology-rich solution providers. That's who we are, and that's what we're going to do today. Excited to have every one of you today with us. With this, without taking much of your time, I'll go ahead and give the control to Justin. So, Justin, over to you.
Great, thanks, Faisal. And I just wanted to turn on my webcam and do a quick hello I hope everybody's staying safe. I wanted to do a quick introduction for myself as well, since I haven't met most of you on the call. As Hazel mentioned earlier, I head up a really interesting team here on the Magento side of things called Channel Technical Sales. And just like he mentioned, we're really a curated enablement resource. So one of the things that we do is work directly with partners, understand their needs in regard to enablement and certifications and growing their internal technical expertise, and we make it much easier for them to navigate things. And that's really what my team brings to the table. Before I joined the Magento team about 7 years ago, I actually spent a lot of time working for 5 different systems integrators as a developer, an architect, team lead. I've built out a few Magento practices. I actually co-own a few Magento stores. So really, I just wanted to share that with everybody to provide some perspective, right? Although I do work at Magento, I do have a kind of an in-the-field perspective, and hopefully we can bring some of that to today's conversation. Before we jump in, I also just wanted to say that we have a pretty broad audience today. So you'll find that our material is a little high level, but that's okay. We want to start small, and the idea is to get you connected with your representatives and your contacts over at Royal Cyber so that you can get more in-depth information and really see how Magento 2.4 could be the next move for you guys. So appreciate the time today. I'll turn off my webcam and jump right into it. Thank you. So cool. I think we've done a bit of an introduction. Let's go ahead and proceed forward, and we'll jump right into it. So, honestly, guys, I don't know if you guys are like me, but you've probably been in a lot of webinars, a lot of PowerPoints and things like that. I'm going to do my very best not to just read the PowerPoints for you. I'd like to keep it a little more high level, but I also wanted to provide my in-the-field perspective as to, some of the more interesting points about the 2.4 release. So obviously 2.4 was a pretty big release, right? We rolled out some new B2B stuff, which is what we'll talk a little more in depth later on. We've kind of enhanced that shopping experience. We've introduced new feature functionalities around BOPIS, or Buy Online, Pick Up in Store, which we all know is very, very popular during the pandemic. We've actually expanded our support for headless commerce, which we'll talk about, and I think that's really exciting. And then honestly, this is something that happens for every release. As we push things out, you'll notice you always get some sort of upgrade in quality and some sort of overall commitment towards performance, security, and compliance. These are things that you'll see with every major release going forward. And honestly, it's one of the big reasons to kind of join the Magento team if you're not already on the Magento team right now. I really do think that it's an incredible platform designed to grow with your business. And as I mentioned earlier, I've got a lot of experience with many different platforms. I've been working in the industry for a long time. And there's a very specific reason that I chose to kind of put my eggs in the Magento basket around 2007. I really believe in the platform, and I think it's a great solution to help you meet whatever challenges that you guys have and out there selling and kind of grow with your business. So like I said, I'm not going to go and hit every one of these bullet points. What I thought I would do here is give you my take from each one of these columns and tell you which one I think is the most interesting, right? If I'm not mistaken, you guys will get this PowerPoint afterwards. So if you want to dig into a little more detail, by all means, feel free. But I wanted to make it interesting and kind of insightful for the team. So in that security tab, there's actually, the first thing I wanted to highlight there isn't one of the bullet points. And it's kind of funny. I don't think we've done a great job of highlighting how important it is. But we now offer what's called a security-only patch system. And this is somewhat of a deviation from what we used to do before. But this essentially allows you to apply these ongoing security fixes that all websites all over the web need to stay in front of without having to do any sort of major upgrades or anything like that. This is something that can typically be installed very quickly. Please work, if you're an existing customer of Royal Cyber, please work with them and they can kind of walk through that process with you. But that's the biggest commitment, in my opinion, that we've made for overall security, and more importantly, I think security agility for our customers and our partners alike. The other one I wanted to call out is two-factor authentication. In my opinion, guys, I think this is something that is incredibly easy and incredibly powerful, right? This is something you can enable in most situations directly from the Magento administration panel, and it almost instantly thwarts any sort of malicious login attempts that happen on all websites, and it's something that you don't need to be a technical user to enable. And although it does prevent a little more of a user experience, friction point, if you will, for logging in. It is substantially more secure than just a standard username and password. So if you take away one thing from the security aspect, and you have a Magento website right now, log in and turn on that two-factor authentication. That is an absolute luxury in today's kind of a crazy web security marketplace. So moving to the middle section there, platform quality. Obviously this is, like I said, something that you get with every Magento release, but there's two things I wanted to call out here. I will say, in regard to the overall upgrade plan and the seamless nature of that, we are making progress every single release to make that even more seamless and easy. But really the big one, the rock star that I think, is the expansion of our GraphQL API. So without getting into too much technical detail, the GraphQL API structure is really a great, easier, more performant way to interact with the standard programming interface in Magento. And although it is somewhat of a recent addition to our platform, I want to say it was rolled out right around the instantiation of 2.0, but we've actually extended onto it almost every single release cycle. And the latest version really has much more feature functionality. So as you are doing those integrations into, PWA solutions, headless architectures, kiosks, any sort of ERP, WMS, OMS, really whatever, you're going to have a lot more granular coverage for the API going forward. And then honestly, you're always going to see improvements and better support for versions of PHP and some of the more core architectural components like Elasticsearch. So that's just something you're going to see in every single release going forward. Now, finally, the big boy, right? The thing that's really important for anybody selling anything online, period, performance and scale, right? So we've made a lot of improvements in this way. And I would actually say, if I had to summarize the entire 2.4 release, I would say the most relevant or the most impactful changes are probably going to come from this side of things, the performance and scale. Yeah, we've launched some really great features as well, which we'll get into in a moment. But we've seen some really substantial upticks in just performance and scale overall. Now, obviously, you guys know better than anybody, performance and scale mean different things to different people, right? So we really tried to be as broad-reaching as we can. But we're seeing page load speeds up to 43% faster, especially at high traffic. For the B2B module, which is becoming increasingly leveraged in the field, we're seeing up to 50% faster reorders and 30% faster quick orders for add to cart functionalities. So this is a pretty exciting thing. It's something we were able to really buckle down and focus on and bring to the market and bring to our customers and our partners alike. So really, in my opinion, there's really no better time to get onto the Magento bandwagon. 2.4 is a really exciting release, and there's lots of value. For the next section, I wanted to kind of walk through a journey of features from 2.0 to 2.4. And as a person who's been with Magento for a long time, this is a pretty substantial journey. Like going from 2 to 2.4, it's just been really exciting. It's been a roller coaster here internally, but it's also really great in regard to the new feature functionality that we've rolled out and really meeting the needs of our merchants, all over the place. One of the things that, to take a small tangent here, one of the things that I think is really worth mentioning is Magento is unique in the way that it really services customers doing less than $1 million of revenue online, all the way up to enterprise customers doing billions of dollars in revenue. And that is really amazing, in my opinion. And you can kind of start to see why that is as we go through this 2.0 to 2.4 journey. So we wanted to kind of start with the most relevant thing for any e-commerce solution, right? Conversions. That's why everybody has a web store. So as you can see with 2.0, we really, in my opinion, guys, it was kind of bare bones, right? We didn't even have these page builder tools or the PayPal, smart buttons with like the buy it now type functionality. Instant purchase wasn't really there. Elasticsearch wasn't really sussed out, if you will. But as you can start to see over the last year or so, you can really start to see how we've increased almost exponentially the investment that we've made internally in regard to research and development and adding new features. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before we jump through the rest of the presentation and talk about the new features specifically is keep in mind the majority of these additional features are not bolted onto the outside of the application. These are core native features. And that is incredibly important to really think about. And also think about the fact that Magento is one of the only solutions in the field that actually allows for a B2B and a B2C experience on one single platform. They are not two separate platforms. And what that does is it opens up all kinds of really interesting doors around user experience and things like that. So we'll talk a little more about that when we talk about the B2B features. But if you're a B2C merchant and you're kind of dipping your toe into the B2B landscape, you can do that very, very easily with Magento by simply activating a few things in the admin and working with Royal Cyber to get that user experience like you need it to be. There's no standing up of a new platform. And the reason I mentioned the fact that all of these features are integrated and not just bolted onto the outside via an extension or something like that is you'll find that they all talk to each other. So think about some of the B2B features. Those features, when we roll them out, are going to automatically talk to things like the product recommendation engine. They're automatically going to have a very tight integration to how you process orders in the Magento admin panel. So that is a really key takeaway as we go through these features. Now for Uplift, as you can see, 2.3 and 2.4 brought a lot to the table. The ones that I think are really interesting and what I would recommend reaching out to Royal Cyber and engaging on, honestly, if you haven't seen the page builder solution, that's a great one to start. It's a very visually engaging thing. If you don't have a lot of experience with PWA or progressive web apps, please take a look at that. And then honestly, if I had to pick another one from the menu here, I would say those B2B functionalities, and not just the new ones we've rolled out, but the whole end-to-end B2B experience. That would be a great conversation starter to have with Royal Cyber if you're interested there. All right, so switching gears a little bit, right? So we've covered things like conversions, purchases. That's really important for revenue. But what's also important for revenue is kind of just smoother operations, right? Being able to predict things and being able to provide a much more kind of intuitive experience for anyone purchasing an order on your website. And this pertains to B2B customers, B2C customers, marketplace customers, really anybody in between. We've made some pretty substantial improvements here. If I had to pick my favorites from this list, I would actually go back to 2.3. I would talk about the multi-source inventory management. That opens a lot of doors. If you don't have a sophisticated order management solution yet, maybe you're not there as a business, but you'd really like to start getting better granular control of your inventory, that is a native tool in Magento that allows you to have multiple inventory sources and deduce from them as needed. So that right there opens up a lot of really great operational workflows. The other one I'd call out is actually those B2B order approval workflows. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I wish we would have had this earlier because it's such an important workflow, right? I'm really happy that we finally have it in the platform because it's something that our end customers and our partners have requested for a long time, so I'm really excited that we can bring that to the table. We'll go through that workflow in a little bit, but that's pretty amazing. It actually opens up all kinds of new user experiences for B2B specific customers. They can now have entire teams of people that can actually create purchase orders and things like that and get them approved throughout a managerial hierarchy. So that opens up a lot of really great granular controls that leads to a better, I would say a more accurate order at the end of the day, which leads to less, logistical issues and all that stuff, which as we know, costs money. All right, so performance and speed, right? Everybody's favorite topic. We've kind of talked about this already, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate, Magento 2 in general was a pretty serious upgrade in regard to the underlying architecture. So, we introduced things like varnish caching, which is kind of an industry-leading solution around providing dynamic cached pages. We introduced things like, 2FA, reCAPTCHA, things like that. And then support for 7.3 and 7.4 PHP. Those are things that really just boosted us up in general because those are much better versions of PHP. But honestly, the rock star from this particular slide is that GraphQL storefront API expansion. As you guys start to build out these solutions with Royal Cyber and really start to integrate it into other things, build those PWA headless solutions in the field, that GraphQL API expansion is going to make that much easier as you guys go forward. You'll find that there's much better coverage, and it just opens up a lot of doors for really any sort of user experience that you need to create that leads to an order being placed either in a kiosk or in a third-party, kind of flash sale, or really in any situation. So that's the showstopper here. I think that's an incredible update that we've pushed forward in 2.4.
Absolutely. And before you proceed further, Justin, we have been receiving a lot of queries, and my rock star from the previous features would be a buy online, pick up in a store. So I would just want you, if you can just put a little bit more light on how well gelled BOPIS is in the 2.4, that'd be great, because we've been receiving a lot of queries due to the current COVID situation. It's almost like 90 to 100% increase in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really topical, right? You know, and I mean, the buy online, pick up in store. It's funny, we've had a lot of customers and a lot of partners who have enabled that type of experience in Magento via customizations. But it's really great that we've got that as a native tool now. And as you guys know, there's quite a bit of different moving parts that comes with something like that. Obviously, the technology, the features and functionalities are a big checkbox, and that is something that is native now. Again, you can install the software and have a rudimentary buy online, pick up in store workflow at your disposal. But really, you know, I see it more as a toolbox for you guys to grow your business and, more importantly, adapt to the world. And that is kind of the commitment that Magento has with these features. You know, we really want to have the most robust feature set in the industry so that we can actually empower our customers to pivot with the world as needed. And I think buy online, pick up in store is an excellent example of that.
Exactly. All right, let's move forward to B2B capabilities.
All right, cool. So I want to make up a little bit of time here and make sure we're on schedule here. But, you know, I wanted to take some time, again, at a very high level, because the audience is really broad today, and just start talking about some of those rudimentary B2B capabilities. So if you're new to B2B, don't worry. We're going to make it very easy to understand, and we're going to try to highlight some of the value propositions as well. You know, like there's a lot of use cases in B2B, in my opinion, that aren't so obvious, you know, and you don't have to have a big investment internally to start engaging more business-specific customers on your website. Again, this is a native thing in Magento. A lot of the rudimentary workflows are right out of the box in Magento. You can simply enable those modules, work with Royal Cyber to kind of get the experience as you need it, and you're going to find that you have a lot of really great control for assisting customers with their large B2B orders, creating quotes, creating quick orders, you know, even actually walking them through the checkout process by taking control of their particular order account. We'll talk about that in a moment. That is really pretty neat, honestly. So to start things off, though, I really wanted to take a step back. And again, you know, if you don't have a lot of experience with a really common, I would say B2B purchase workflow, this is a really great place to start. You know, that approval workflows is pretty important. Having the ability to control all of the spending that happens within an organization, again, this is something that Magento does natively. So from there, you know, there's other components as well around seller-assisted shopping. We're going to take a look at this a little more in detail. Excuse me, in a bit. We have some screenshots that we can share with you. But this is pretty amazing because it opens up a lot of doors for really getting that order placed. With B2B, there's a lot of friction when it comes to orders. It's not like ordering a t-shirt or ordering some sort of consumable good on a website. These are typically very professional products that are going to be used in some sort of implementation, right? So getting that order placed exactly right the first time is extremely crucial for revenue, for logistics, for customer experience, for brand degradation. So, you know, being able to really assist your shoppers in real time and make sure that order is placed properly is going to go a long way to keeping you guys sane and supporting the B2B customers. Now, honestly, we want to also empower our B2B customers to do everything they can on their own before they reach out to you, right? That's always the goal. So you'll notice that we've got a lot of additional things that we've added around fast ordering and reordering. That's even easier to do now. A lot of businesses kind of order the same thing. They might need, you know, 300 bolts or something of that nature, just, you know, recursively every 6 months or something like that. So that should be a 10-second process going forward. You know, that's a simple click and add to the cart, and then you can use your purchase order or your credit on file to deduct from your inventory. And then, you know, things like order search. We've actually done a lot of improvements with user experience on finding those orders much more quickly. You have to think about your end customers too. I mean, time is money for them as well. So if they can find those orders that they need to reorder much more quickly, that saves them money and it saves them time. And they're very likely going to come back to you when they need to reorder again. Now, finally, we talked about this a little bit, but that buy online, pick up in store solution, I mean, this really opens up so many doors in Magento 2.4. Being able to kind of have different places to actually consume that inventory, or actually pick up that inventory as an end user, that's a really great way to kind of incentivize your customers, and you're meeting them in their environment, right? If you do have a brick and mortar store and you want to turn that into an inventory fulfillment center, you can do that with native tools in Magento, and that's really pretty interesting. All right, next slide, please. So we've talked a little bit about, kind of the high-level workflow, but I wanted to dig in a little more around that approval workflow for those who aren't familiar with this kind of purchase process. It really caters to B2B sellers and B2B buyers. And there's kind of unique benefits for each, right? The benefit for a B2B seller is really around attracting new business and growing your sales. That's pretty self-explanatory, but when you talk about a B2B buyer, this is where things expand pretty dramatically, right? So we want to streamline as much of that as possible. A lot of the recent studies that are being published around B2B, they all indicate kind of the same thing. It's showing that there's a merging or a blurring of B2C or B2B or even Amazon-like purchase, experiences, right? That's something that everybody is really, they just want the fastest, easiest way to purchase these things. So a lot of the additional updates we've increased or we've included in 2.4 are going to do that. They're really going to streamline the pre-purchase for the approval process, and then they're going to make sure you can have additional granular control around the spending of each B2B buyer account. And that's pretty important because it opens up a new set of functionality that B2B buyers didn't really have previously in older versions of Magento. So, talking about that workflow, again, we're talking high level today. If you do want to learn more, or if this is something you have a lot of interest in, I urge you to really reach out to your contacts at Royal Cyber. I'm sure they would be happy to kind of walk you through this process and show you the tool in real time. We weren't really set up for a demo today, so we just wanted to walk through what a high level workflow approval process might look like. So it always starts with add to cart, right? So buyer adds something to the cart, and they start to get that shipping information entered into the system. And again, if they're a repeat purchaser, that stuff's already going to be saved in Magento, making it much more streamlined and seamless. And you have the ability to select an offline payment method, like a purchase order or something like that. From there, that order can be reviewed and approved as needed, and you can set up specific rules too to auto-approve it around total value, SKUs, and shipping costs and things like that. But at that point, the buyer submits the purchase order. It's been approved, it's good to go, and then there's going to be a whole slew of notifications that happen for the merchant and the vendor alike. And then, for example, that might get approved in the My Account section. And once it's approved, it can actually be submitted. It can be, paid against. It can deduct from a credit balance on file. Really, anything you need. So, in my opinion, that is the most basic B2B workflow, but probably the most workhorse B2B workflow as well. It's applicable to almost any industry. Manufacturing, healthcare, it doesn't really matter. They typically have some sort of workflow requirement that mimics something very, very similar to this. So now we get to see a little bit of what this looks like, right? So that streamlined purchase with automated approval processes, this is going to be really seamlessly integrated to the default user experience in Magento. And I think that's important to mention. I mean, if you do have needs to get up and running with a buy online, pick up in store or a B2B solution, Magento is the tool to get you up and running quickly because there's a responsive reference app included in the platform. All of the stuff that we're talking about today is native feature functionality, really requires no customization to start leveraging these native tools, and it creates a very good industry standard B2B purchase flow. So that's a really great thing to consider when you're actually going up market or trying to react to how the world is behaving right now. So we talked about this already, but automatic approvals, email notifications, easy management after those orders have been placed. You would see this more in a demonstration, but I think I like having this slide here because it kind of shows how easy this is for an end user to navigate. You can see we've got a tab structure here with my purchase orders, company purchase orders, and these require approval. These three tabs alone open up a really great workflow for those more complex B2B buyers. So going a little further, this one is pretty exciting. There's a lot of wow factor to this one, in my opinion, because it allows an administrator or a customer service representative from the Magento side of things to actually assume control and kind of place an order on the behalf of one of your customers. And this is really relevant for two things. Think about the elderly or people who have trouble with actually placing orders. That's a little more B2C specific, but it's also very important, like we said earlier, to get that massive B2B order with 5,000 different complex parts in there. We want to get that as accurate as possible the first time it's placed, because then when it goes off to the WMS and it starts to be picked, that's where you're kind of against the clock, right? And the more accurate you can be on that first place order, the more time you guys will save as merchants, the better experience your end customers are going to have. So this is a pretty amazing feature that we've rolled out. And again, if you want to see that more in detail, please work with Royal Cyber. They could probably show you that in greater detail than the screenshot today. Cool. So to round it out here, we talked about this as well, but this experience on the back end has been pretty dramatically improved. I always found it a little cumbersome pre 2.4. That's just my honest opinion, but now that we have this additional control here where we can start to do more curated searching, and you can kind of filter by, who created this order, what's the status, give me a date range, things like that. I did a test on my end with my latest demo version, and I was able to find orders significantly more quickly. And I didn't really realize it until I tried it. Typically you could only paginate, and if you had an order from 3 years ago that you had to reorder, it was pretty tedious. I mean, you'd have to click 6 or 7 times to find that order, and I found myself leveraging like the Command F, on my browser to search things manually. It just wasn't a very good user experience. So we've added quite a bit of an enhancement in regard to kind of finding those orders and then kind of managing them in the administration panel. So, to round things out, I wanted to also talk about why upgrade or why replatform, right? And, honestly, guys, this is always a hard conversation. Everybody's unique. But I think it's worth really diving into your specific business requirements, and again, working with Royal Cyber and really trying to figure out what the right solution is for you. So we've got a few slides here to just kind of talk about why we think you should upgrade or why we think you should replatform. But again, it's going to be hard to kind of make that answer or have that answer for everybody on the call today. It's really a good introduction to start talking with Royal Cyber more in depth. So yeah, let's jump into it. All right, so we tried to make it as kind of simple and as quick to really understand, and I feel like these are pretty accurate. Again, for context, I have been selling Magento for quite some time, since about 2007 in some capacity, and I was a leading solutions consultant at Magento for 5 years, and I would say these 3 tiers are spot on, really. I'll kind of talk about each one, but give you my perspective, as to why I think these are the main considerations. So the first one, that green box on the left, security, quality, and performance. Yeah, that's fine, right? Everybody says that. But what's interesting here is I think you have to look at it from a different way. The fact that Magento is kind of growing so dramatically, and we're constantly investing in, our security stance, we're constantly making improvements to the overall quality and then the performance aspect. This is something, again, that's going to happen always. This isn't going to kind of stop just because there's a new version of this or that out, right? This is something that you will see we are very, very committed to, and that right there is a great reason to consider moving to Magento if you're not on the platform already. Think of it as a team of thousands of people that are dedicated to research and development, and keeping an eye out for you and your business's practices around security, quality, and performance. As we make these improvements, we're going to push those out to all of our customers and make those incredibly easy to consume for everybody. So think of it more as a way to grow, for us to help you grow your business, and for you to grow with us. Security, quality, and performance are a part of that. Now, moving to that middle section, lower cost and time to market for headless and PWA storefronts. Pretty self-explanatory, but as the need for this increases, and as applications all across the board become much more decoupled, much less kind of monolithic, you'll find that Magento is very, very well adapted to create these end-to-end user experiences. Now, this opens up a lot of doors in regard to having multiple web storefronts that are also mobile friendly with a responsive reference theme, but also dipping a toe into that PWA ideology, which is kind of the middle ground between an iOS or an Android native app and a responsive experience. We do have a demo available online for our end-to-end PWA experience. please reach out to Royal Cyber if you want to see that. It's really pretty exciting. There's a lot of interesting features you can dive into there as well. For example, with the PWA solution, it will actually detect if you have an active internet connection or not, and it will notify that in the Magento Commerce platform. So you'll notice as you're actually shopping in, like, let's say you go through a subway tunnel or something like that and you lose your LTE connection, it's going to resume your shopping progress, so you have a really great experience end to end. Just little stuff like that, right? It's very bleeding edge and it's really exciting to see. So if you do have interest in that, especially for those who are a little more branding focused, more retail focused, yeah, I would set some time up with Royal Cyber and take a look at that. Now, yeah, honestly, the last one goes without explaining too, but buy online, pick up in store. We've already beat that one up enough. That's incredibly important right now. Native tools, something you can leverage right now and get up and running. But I think this is similar to that first bucket on the far left there. Think of it more as a dedicated team of thousands of people here at Magento that are really trying to push every one of you up market. We're trying to increase your revenue by making your customers convert much more easily, and we're trying to be the best of the best kind of conversion experience for your customers. And again, this isn't going to go away. This is something we are heavily focused in regard to research and development, user experience, the UI, the information architecture that comes with the Magento native tools. So this is something you're going to see going forward. But I also wanted to call out kind of a one-off here, payment methods, right? Payment methods have changed quite a bit on the web in the past year, and you're going to see that we're rolling out many new alternate payment methods that are, again, native in Magento. So things like Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, via the Braintree VBE, which is a native payment gateway in Magento. These are great. I mean, these are the things that your customers are asking you for in the field. So we need to make sure that we can give them the ability to purchase as they need.
Yeah, sounds great. So yeah, Justin, before we head to the next slide, I had a quick question for you as well. So we're talking about the upgrade considerations. What are the available cloud options, or to put it more appropriately, what are the prereqs for the customers, looking to switch from maybe 1.x directly to Magento 2.4, or overall what makes them a good fit or maybe not a good fit as of now?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And my answer is a little non-traditional, but I'll give you my real take on it. There's really very little reason to not make the move to Magento Cloud, for example, or Magento 2. And I know I've got to say that I work at Magento, but trust me, if you really look at it and you take a look at it from a TCO lens, or you take a look at it from a kind of a revenue or an opportunity lens, Magento really is an astounding solution. So I would say it's better answered in regard to what I would say, what's not a good fit for Magento Cloud. I would say, organizations like healthcare and government that have really complex compliancy requirements, they just typically do much better on premise in most situations because, of the additional control that is needed. And then really that's the big one. And then, everything else is more about like data sovereignty or like global commerce and things like that. If you are a predominantly Chinese brand, that doesn't mean it's off limits by any means. Please reach out to us and we'll definitely see if you're a good fit. But, that's typically where Magento's cloud solution or Magento 2 isn't necessarily a great fit. The other thing I wanted to call out, since you brought it up, Faisal, is the cost, right? So Magento there's a lot of, I think, mystery around how Magento kind of prices things licensing wise, but I think you got to schedule a conversation with someone at Royal Cyber so they can walk you through it. Again, if you take a look at things from a 3-year TCO standpoint, let's say you are on open source now and you're kind of on the precipice where you're not sure if you need to stay on open source or if you need to move to the Cloud Starter or Cloud Pro or something like that. Please work with that team. They can oftentimes provide a really compelling use case around the TCO for 3 years. And I will see, I can assure you that when you really have that conversation and you're talking about the licensing, the barrier to entry is very low compared to some of our other lower kind of market solutions out there. So I would say have that conversation with Royal Cyber. It typically is more of a 3-year TCO, but if you really take a look at it, I think you'll see there's a lot of value right off the bat for that license cost.
Oh, definitely. We are very open. So it's
Yeah.
been like, Justin, it's been 18 years in this industry so far. Yet we encounter a new case with the time, how the technology is changing so fast. So we are also up for learning from our customers. We are also up for discussing. We are also up for knowing what you're experiencing in your, let's say, buy online, pick up in a store, which is relatively new to the e-commerce features and whatnot. So yeah, thank you for putting light on it, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. So before heading to the question and answers, I would like to give you a quick overview of Royal Cyber's approach as how we can probably give you a jump start in Magento. So with over about 50 unique logos on board in different technologies, our uh, code and package repository, allows us to tackle pretty much every use case and client need in this ever-changing, digital era of commerce. So we are with our customers for the customer experience. We do not want your customers to drop out at any level of their customer journey on your website or any of your digital platform. So we have completed 98% of our past projects in targeted time or earlier. So we have specifically designed and curated a Magento implementation for our new or existing customers, which offers implementation and also includes replatforming of your existing e-commerce engine, let's say, in 60 days or less. And again, this probably can this can vary. Again, with every of our package that we offer 1 week of free assessment. That is the first step of every project that we do, in which we assess. We sit down with your teams, sit down with your decision makers, and we actually go ahead and brainstorm as what can be done. So this package actually comes with all out of the box features, all the features that we have talked about right now. Our code repository allows us to actually give you a jump start on it, and within 60 days or less, we probably can make you up and running live. Yet, while there are broader needs of companies to cater to business operations and marketing, such as integrating existing financial systems or ERPs, let's say, or maybe just broadening the feature set of your current offering, let's say, we have a wide range of homegrown and third-party ready integrations to plug, configure, and play. All the timelines for each feature that you see here is set approximately close to what it takes, but we have experienced a much quicker integration. That's just to keep a buffer. I had to. So we do also offer the on-prem to cloud migration. Obviously, it's a part and parcel of our services that we do. Again, starting from the initial assessment and gap analysis, we follow the pretty much standard cycle of the software development. Now, while Magento 2.4 now offers Azure cloud implementation more efficiently than ever before, available now for both commercial and enterprise segments, and enforce 2FA, as Justin mentioned, we've managed to do a transition from your on-prem environment to cloud in approximately 30 to 45 days or less, maybe. And again, as I mentioned, this project will include a free assessment of 1 week for you. Royal Cyber has been, since I told you, been in the business for about 18 years. And I promise this is the last slide about this. We offer several other integrations for your business, ranging from headless commerce, such as keeping Adobe Experience Manager as a glass, let's say, to artificial intelligence, such as NLP search. Adobe Sensei is already a part of the new 2.4 release, so that comes with it. Chatbot and fraud check solutions and whatnot. Again, it depends on your needs, and we would really want to discuss it with you in coming future. So a bit of resources and knowledge base that we'll be giving out to you as part of this webinar. You will have the recording and the slides of the webinar after this. Hopefully available to you from tomorrow onwards. On top of that, we would really want to, as Adobe partners, we feel privileged to have access to the information which we would like to share with you, which includes Magento 2.4 B2B info sheets to very commonly asked questions. So there's a good deck put together by the team on the 2.4 FAQs. The full feature list and the commerce info sheet, as well as the open source upgrade info sheet, will be put for your information up on the website.